If there's any Ghanaian footballer who's been able to combine books and boots effectively, then it's Alfred Duncan of Sassuolo. In this edition of Off-Season, he talks to us about his journey as a young footballer from the streets of Medina at Agri Memorial Senior High School in Cape Coast, and then through the ranks at Inter Milan as a youth team player, and how he never got a chance to play for the big boys. But his loan spells at Livorno and Sampdoria making him better. He also looks ahead to the upcoming 2019-2020 season. This is Off-Season with Alfred Duncan of Sassuolo.
Hi, pronto.
How's it? I'm good, thanks.
Hey, cool, man. And welcome to Off-Season, and I hope you're ready to accept the entire crew into your abode.
Yeah, sure. Glad to have you guys here.
Yeah, we're okay, right? So let's enjoy ourselves in this interview. Hello and welcome to Off-Season, and our guest for this episode is Alfred Duncan. He plays his football in Italy for Sassuolo. Alfred, welcome to Off-Season once again, and thanks for inviting us to your home. We only heard from you, or heard about you, when you were with Inter Milan as a youth team player in the Primavera. Really, not all of us know about your football journey. Tell us, how did it all start for you, Alfred Duncan?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I think Alfred Duncan is a very young guy who started playing his football in Medina Zongo when I was at a tender age, and I never played in any Premier League team or any important league, but I played in the coach team with Top 10 Academy at the under 12 level in under 14. I should say after senior high school, I had this opportunity to travel to Italy to study and then go on a trial with any club at all. But I wasn't expecting Inter to be one of the first clubs I was going to visit. But fortunately for me, I think I had this opportunity to train with one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and then I had a very delight weekend, and they decided to keep me up and then send me to school and then sign me off to play for the junior side. So this is how it all happened in March 2009.
And you look back and you think it's by accident, because that was not the dream to be at Inter, a big club with also good systems in place. Being in Italy, you realize that the Italian clubs have got a big scouting system. Players are coming in from all over the world into the Inter Academy. How was life like in Inter, playing with most of talented players from all over the world in the academy?
Well, I should say from the beginning, I never thought I was going to be one of the players to go outside to play. Apart from the fact that even at that tender age, I wasn't having in my mindset of traveling.
Okay.
And then I happened to get this opportunity to travel, so I had to put aside my education because I was here to enter the university. But I was ready to just go to Cape Coast University, but unfortunately I had to make a choice, so I chose to take this opportunity to travel and then to see what would have come out of it. So I made this move, and then I had this opportunity to be in one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and then to see most of the big players we've all been watching on television. And then it wasn't easy the first year, and then even the previous year, and then other 2 years.
At a point in time, were you afraid you're not going to make it because of the quality you guys had in the Inter Academy?
Well, I never had such an impression, because for me, when I was very young, I never felt any pressure on me or trying to, because for me it wasn't a trial, because First of all, I never thought of traveling to go and then look for a team to play outside Ghana. And even here in Ghana, I wasn't even thinking of playing in one of the most important leagues like the Division 1 or the Premier League. So for me, it was just fun because when I was a kid, I was always having fun with my friends. And then when we used to play on the streets and then to play in the school, we were all having fun. So for me, it was just always fun. So traveling to Italy and then getting the chance to train with the junior side of Inter Milan was, for me, was just fun. And then it was a new experience here, obviously, because you've met white folks with different culture and then everything. So for me, I was just having fun. And then in the long run, I was
just like that bound. You talked
so.
about senior high school. You at Agri Memorial Senior High School.
I'm an Amosa,
Yes, and Agri has got a good football team. You know, it's been one of the traditional senior high schools with good, you know, teams. Did you ever make it into the Agri Memorial team?
I should say I set a record the moment I stepped foot in the school because I was the only Form 1 boy who was able to break into the school team.
Impressive.
And then I was the first choice on my in my role. So I had fun from Form 1 till I completed. And then fortunately for me, my school dad was the sports prefect. He didn't give me an advantage of it, but he was able to at least teach me a lot of things that maybe I didn't know, apart from the fact that I didn't even go there to play football, but I was lucky enough to get one of the schools I had wanted to attend, and they were doing the things I loved doing. So it helped me a lot, and I was able to accomplish a mission I wasn't expecting.
Most guys I've spoken to tell me you are one of, you know, of the players we have in Ghana. You are learned, you speak well, you are academic. Do you think that desire not to be a footballer, like a professional footballer at all costs, helped you, took the pressure off you, and has helped in making you the sort of footballer you are today, one of the most tactically gifted players in the Italian Serie A?
Maybe yes, but I think with any athlete, you need some of the basics to be able to help you reach a level you wouldn't maybe expect or you are destined to be. Because for me, my family has always been the most important thing in my life, because most children don't get the opportunity to have parents who would allow them to play football. For me, I had both parents present since I was born, and then they helped me academically and then socially. My dad made me understand the fact that school was more important than any other thing. So in order to do what I wanted to do, I had to learn. So I had to combine both education and the sports. So anytime I came back from school, I had to finish my homework. I had to do almost everything, apart from the fact that I'm a boy, so I wasn't doing the house chores, but the few things I had to do, I had to finish them before going out to play. So I think that was the basics, and then the little things that I learned from the start that really helped me. So my dad and my mom are the people that I think they've made me who I am today, because without them, I wouldn't have been where I am today. So they taught me a lot, and then they helped me reach a level in my education which most kids don't get a chance to be. And then I think with that, it helped me a lot also when I traveled.
Let's go back to Inter. You played with a team. There was this Next Generation Football Tournament, or Next Gen Football Tournament, youth tournament. I think that's the model which has been christened now as the UEFA Youth League, where most of the clubs now feature their youth teams in there. You won with Inter. Tell us about the experience. Who was your coach, and how did it all happen?
I think during my year with the second team, the Primavera team, that was the first edition that capitalized with the junior side. That was the first edition, and fortunately for me, I was able to win that tournament, starting very, very, very bad, because we lost our first game against Tottenham by 7-1, which everybody thought we were just going to participate, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and then we were able to triumph in that tournament. I had Andrea Stramaccioni as a coach, and I think that was my first season of having such a coach. He came from Rome, He had already coached Roma's junior side, but when he came to Inter, everything changed. He taught us a lot of things, and then that was, I think, my one and most important experience I have ever had, because during that tournament we had the opportunity to play against most of the young players, young talented players from other clubs, and then we had an experience that I think gave us the maturity we have now, because during that season you were a kid, so you didn't know how to comport yourself on the pitch technically and tactically. Yeah. But during that, like in Italy, we didn't have, with the junior side, we didn't have that kind of experience. But when you go outside, you play against teams like Ajax, who have one of, I think, the most important junior side in the world. You play against Tottenham, and then we had the opportunity to play against Sporting Lisbon. I think these are the three clubs with the best youth sides in the world. And playing against them, we had some kind of experience that helped us even to win the Primavera Youth League. Okay. And I think it was an experience I would never forget, because we were so down by a lot of things, but we were able to bring ourselves together to understand how the game was, and then at the end we were able to smile at each other, and then everything became very successful.
The time you merged in the youth team, that was when Inter were making strides in Europe, winning the treble, the Champions League, the league itself with Jose Mourinho, the Coppa Italia as well. They didn't have room for you, so you were loaned to Livorno, for a start. Subsequently, there were other loan moves also to Sampdoria, and then you got finally landed at Sassuolo. Tell us about your loan spells and whether you still feel hurt Inter Milan never gave you opportunity of playing.
Well, I think I never felt hurt, because for me it became a motivation for me, because sometimes you don't get the chance to do what you deserve, because I think with football it's about choices. So every coach and every club has its own choices, and they also try to build up the team in a different way. Most of the teams wouldn't want to play with the younger sides that develop from the youth side, so they prefer going outside to buy completed players already who have that experience. So for me, I had this misfortune to land in the team where they had all the resources to buy any player they wanted and they desired. So there wasn't that time for me to develop. They couldn't wait for me, so they had to give me out on loan. So I stayed with Inter for, I think, 6 months in the first team, and then I got loaned to Livorno. And in Serie B, I think that was my first experience. And then I went there with anger, because I felt I got to a point in my career after the youth side, I had something to give, but I wasn't given the chance to do so. So going to Livorno, I went there with anger, and then I was able to demonstrate to almost everyone that I was ready and I could do something. So with that, we got promoted to Serie A, and then I had to go back to Inter for preparation. And then when I went, a new coach had come in, and then he also had his own choices and then his own scheme. So I had to go back again on loan. So I decided to go back to Livorno, because I already had an experience with them already. So, and they were also willing to get me back. So I decided to go there, and then I had 1 season with them in Serie A. Livorno got relegated, and then I had to go back again to Inter for preparation, because I was still under contract with them. Yeah. And then going back to Inter, I had this deal with Sampdoria, who was ready to bring me on board, because Mihajlovic had signed days before, and then he was also willing to work with me. So I spoke with him, and then we went into agreement. So I decided to go on loan again, and I think that was my best season ever, because I had already developed in Serie B, and then I've played 1 season with Livorno in Serie A, so I had a little bit of experience behind me.
You were more Italian at that time?
Somehow, because I think I had already stayed in Italy for 6 years, so I had that desire to be the player I wanted to become, because I could see most of the players I was always looking at to how they used to play, and then I wanted to become one of them. I wanted to have fun on the pitch and then play just like I desired when I was a kid. So,
was it at Sampdoria that you felt the time has come, Alfred Duncan, I'm now a big player, I can compete with anybody, I don't fear who the club buys, but this is me, I can compete? Is it at Sampdoria? Because Eto was your teammate then.
Yes, but I think I had this impression the first year I came to Sassuolo, because after my first, I was supposed to go on a two-year loan spell at Samp, but after a year, I got the chance to go to Livorno due to one or two issues we had with Inter. So I got sold out to Sassuolo. So I think the first year was the year I felt, well, this is Alfred. I think this is the moment to do everything I've always decided to be, because I had a very good coach who had younger kids in the team. There were many young players, younger than I am. So I think doing my first year in Sassuolo was an important season for me, also because we were able to get the qualification to Europa League. But I think that was the season where I had fun. I played just like I wanted. I dominated almost every part of the pitch, and then I was really enjoying every bit of that season.
At Sampdoria, we played alongside Efri Aqua, and two Ghanaians were starting in the same game. You're not competing, but playing with a compatriot is not new at Sassuolo when Kevin came in, but there was Efri Aqua before that. You know, how was it like to having two Ghanaians in the same starting 11 and with the same, let's say, energy and drive? Did it in any way help your stay at Sampdoria?
Well, I think with Sampdoria, it got to a time where we needed something different, because we had a style of play that was very offensive, and then the other teams were having problems with us. So during the January transfer, Mijanovic decided to go for another midfielder, and then they thought of bringing a free Aqua to us. So I think him coming to the team boosted the team. We got another energetic player in the midfield, so it really helped us a lot. And then playing alongside him was something else, because we had Obiang also present, who is a Spanish African also, and he has all the experience he needed, because he had already played in various seasons in Serie A also. So it really helped us a lot with Efri Aqua coming along to Sampdoria. With Kelvin, I think we had a very good feeling, because he was playing in a role that I was very close to him, and then we had this connection that everything was working very well during the first 5 months of his stay. And then him coming to meet me at Sassuolo was very interesting, because he came with all the experiences he has had with the World Cup, with AFCON, with all the teams he played for AC Milan, for Portsmouth, with Tottenham, and he had all the experience any player would want to play alongside. So when he came, he really helped us a lot.
How true were the rumors that you nearly signed for AC Milan during the January transfer window?
I think there was a contact between AC Milan and my club, and then I almost left, but fortunately and luckily for me, I decided not to go, because I was having a very good season during that period, and then my club was also not willing to replace me with other players, which would have been a very long situation, because getting another player during that period was going to be very difficult. So they decided not to let me go. And then mostly for me, I wasn't willing to make a change, because I had to adapt to a different style, and then a newly built project and other stuff during that period for the last 6 months of the season. So for me, I wasn't willing to make such a move. So I decided not to go.
Do you think a move will happen this summer? Is it possible? Will you still remain with Sassuolo, or there could be a change in environment?
Well, I think anything can happen. You know, with this kind of sport, anything can easily happen in every minute. So I wouldn't expect any move for now. They've been contact with my club concerning my transfer, but for now, I don't really need to make a move because the change of environment wouldn't boost anything. But you never know. If a club comes and then I think it's the right thing for me to do, I might consider. But for now, I think I'm having everything I need at Sassuolo because we have a very good coach, and then he's giving us the opportunity to play the kind of football I prefer, and then I get the chance to do almost everything that I want to do on the field. I have fun. I am able to communicate well technically and tactically with my teammates, and then I've scored most goals in one season than 3 seasons put together. I've made more assists this previous season than any other season put together. So I think last season was one of the best seasons I've ever had in my 10 years stay in Italy. So I don't see the reason why I should just put my club in any situation that might cause anything bad for me. I'll be okay.
Alfred has changed. There's some changes now. You are now a family man. We've seen Nicole, we've seen the mom. You had your wedding this summer, white wedding this summer in Accra. How has the two in your life now changed you?
I think it's for everyone. I think it's very important, and even for a sportsman, for instance, you need to be more concentrated. You need to be focused. So when you have a family behind you, I think it's very important also. Your work and everything gets directed in one direction, and it really helps being focused and everything. When you have a kid or you have kids, I think it's very important also, because you get to a moment in your life where you get to understand the fact that you have things to die for. So it's an additional motivation for you, because the moment you stop working or you stop doing the thing that generates or brings income, it's really going to affect a lot of people, with friends, family, and then even with your kids. So you have an additional motivation to be able to do well in your work. So I think for me, it's a very good thing for me, a very good thing that happened to me, and then I'm trying as much as possible to become one of the best dads in the world.
How do you want to be remembered as an African player or Ghanaian player in the Italian Serie A, should you leave, or maybe probably retire in that league?
I think there's been a lot of players, Ghanaian players, who have passed through the Serie A, and I think they've left a very good legacy. Someone like Stephen Appiah, we all know. Apart from the national team, I think he left a very good legendary behind him, and then even till now, they keep mentioning his name. Mohamed Gago, Sami Kufuor, and then so many players. Asamoah Gyan, Kojo Asamoah still playing. They always try to leave something behind, and this is something I always desire, because Kojo Asamoah for me is a very important personality. He's my role model because he's a very good friend, but a very good player and someone I look up to. So I think I prefer a good name and then leaving a good legacy behind, so that with years coming and passing by, people will sit somewhere and then mention your name with only good things, and then you will be remembered in such a good manner. I think for me would be the most important thing.
There's Europe to play next season with Sassuolo. What is the target?
Well, I think it has always been a target for us. We always want to push harder and then go higher. So I think we have to try and then go beyond our limit and then try and see what will be waiting for us behind the wall.
Do you expect Kevin Prince Boateng to stay? He had a good season before the journey moved to Barcelona. It didn't go well. How much will his stay help your cause in the Serie A and also in Europe?
I think Kevin has a sort of charisma that really helps with the young ones. So I think him staying is really going to help us a lot. And then with his quality on the field also gives the team another type of rhythm. So I think him staying is really going to help us. But for now, I think it all depends on him and the kind of agreements he goes with the club.
Duncan, now a big name, household name in Italy. Probably we could see you play for the big boys in the Serie A this summer. Until that happens, you've done a lot at club level. Do you feel back home you are undervalued? I'm talking about, being a national team player. You played with the under-20 at the World Cup in 2013 in Turkey. But have we gotten the best out of you as a senior international with the Black Stars?
Well, I think with the national team level, it's a bit complicated. But like I said, every coach and in every club has its own way of doing their things. I think with the national team, we have very good players in the team, and then it creates competition. And I think that also improves the team. Well, I think the coach has his own choice making. So anytime I get called and then I come and things don't go the way I expect, obviously one wouldn't be happy, but there's nothing one can do. I can only try and then play my role as a player and then leave the rest to those in authority. So if they make their choice and they think it's good for them, fine. I also go because before I traveled, I never played for the national team. So it's not something that I always think about, but obviously one would want to represent his country at the national team level. But if it doesn't happen, amen. We just move forward and then we'll see what the future has for us.
Finally, before we go, Alfred, what is your biggest fear as a footballer?
Seriously, I don't think I have one. I don't think I have one because I think playing during these years, I've learned a lot, and then sometimes obviously you get the tension when you have to play against big clubs. But I think if I would have one, I think it should be injury.
Okay.
So I only pray to God that it's something I always want to prevent, because that's the only thing that can stop us from doing what we love doing. So I only pray I never get injured, or obviously injury will come, but I hope it doesn't get serious to take me away from the pitch for a very long time. So I think that's the only biggest fear I have now.
It's been great talking to you, Alfred Duncan. We wish you all the best going ahead to the 2019-2020 season, whether with Sassuolo or with any other club. We are grateful for talking to us on off-season.
Obviously, this has been an interesting chat with Alfred Duncan, who plays for Sassuolo in the Italian Serie A. You heard him talk about his philosophy, expectations, and how he stayed mature playing through the various ranks in Italy. Until we come your way with yet another edition, this has been Off-Season with Alfred Duncan of Sassuolo.